It is our first episode of 2024, and it's a big one. We know some new details about the future of the X-Men. Of course, the big relaunch is coming up. It's imminent, and we're starting to learn more details, including something that will shock everyone, that shocked the shit out of me when I heard it. The story, which I will tell later, of how Jim Lee was nearly at the tip of the spear for the future of the X-Men.
What? That's crazy. The socks came off. Whoa!
Socks came off. Wait, sorry.
That would knock my socks off too, if it were to happen.
Oh.
Before we get into all that, of course, we've got three pals on hand today. We've got Marco, Tyler.
I will never have that much energy this early in the morning, so sorry.
And that's because I made breakfast. I did a little exercise. This is all over it.
Oh, I have to prep for the show beforehand, Marco.
I had time, dude.
I'm Sean. Welcome to the show. Make sure that you guys smash the like button if you're hearing me as you file in. We've got something fun to do a little bit later. Let's dive into what it is that we're here to talk about right now. So first up is the fact that the Free Comic Book Day solicits have made the rounds once again. For some reason, when this first happened, it's almost like people weren't paying attention. They had their blinders on. Nobody paid attention to the fact that Gail Simone was working on a story in the Free Comic Book Day issue with David Marquez on the X-Men, a Jubilee story that takes them back to the beginning, that shows how you can never go home again. That's essentially what the solicit says. No one paid attention to this. There was limited conversation about the fact that maybe Gail Simone was going to be the writer of the X-Men going forward, but by and large, it got ignored. Now it's recirculating because Final Order cutoff day has come, and everybody's talking about it. This is what I've been saying for like 4 months.
And a point on the end of year, right?
Not yet.
Not quite.
Okay.
Not quite.
Still fresh in my mind.
However, it's worth pointing out that she's not the only person that, these solicits came around on, because it's Dennis Camp, who's writing the story, the Ultimate story in Free Comic Book Day issue, announced that he's writing the Ultimates going forward, an ongoing Ultimate series. So that was my choice in the breakout star of 2024. I think I'm up.
Yeah, the points are there.
We'll see.
We'll see. Yes, Tyler, we'll see. We got a whole year ahead. This is the first year show. We got 51 left.
I love it. This year is starting off incredibly. Like, I've been so jazzed to do this episode because there's just so much that's come out. Real quick on the Dennis Camp thing. That's great news. I'm excited. He's been doing great work. Good stuff.
Are there solicits for that, or do we have like a rest of the team? Anything else? Any news there?
Yeah, it's let's see.
Sorry, not to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I wasn't really planning to talk about this.
Dennis Camp.
It's Swan for Gary.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. And they're going to be facing off against the Hand, I believe.
Oh,
The Ultimates against the Hand. But I guess the Hand would probably be one of those other sects of superpowers.
excuse me.
All right. Could be good.
Yeah. As ever, I'm sure that if they're giving him the bag to do Ultimates, that he's got to have an idea that knocked them off their socks. Or knock their socks off, excuse me. It's the Ultimates versus the Agents of Hand. So, and it's HAND.
Z? Oh.
No.
Oh, like a name almost.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So that's pretty cool. But back to the Gail Simone aspect of it. She's still staying tight-lipped. When this first came out months ago, I don't even think she typed the name X-Men. She said, "Oh, people are saying I'm going to be working on a thing. I have no idea about that." It's like, come on, Gil. You got no idea?
A thing? You mean like the Thing, as in the Fantastic Four, as in the Fantastic Four, who technically are no. It's fine.
Yeah, thank goodness you let that go.
Yeah.
As much as I have been banging this drum, there's a part of me that goes, wait a second. Is Marvel really about to hand over the reins of the X-Men as their big relaunch party to Gail Simone? Not because Gail Simone is not talented, because she definitely is. I think she's great. I just don't know if the box office is there
Like
the way it
readers?
was there with Hickman.
I think they're. I mean, it seems like they're catering. You want to go back to meat and potatoes, and meat and potatoes. You know, for me and X-Men, I imagine is back in Westchester. You know, the Danger Room there. They're doing more superheroics. It's less of this sci-fi grandioseness. Grandioseness is that a word? Am I making shit up?
It is now.
And I think Gail Simone is one of those people that attracts is a big name and maybe kind of straddles two eras. One of people who are used to maybe older X-Men and people who are familiar with her work and see it as legacy, and now is coming back into the fold.
Right. I hear that for sure. I definitely think that Gail is a good pick from that sort of standpoint. I wonder how long she'll be on the book, if she is announced for the book also.
This, even the solicit, feels like it's an intro story for a era rather than a story. Does that make sense?
I know what you're saying, but I'm trying to figure out how the hell you got that from this.
Because it's about Jubilee going back and how you can't go back to your roots, because it's clearly saying we're going back to a school.
Right.
But it's going to be different somehow. I wouldn't be surprised if we go back to the school with Magneto as a headmaster, honestly.
That'd be rad.
I'd rather save the speculation for like the story stuff, just
Sure.
because we know literally nothing. I don't. I'm less confident in my pick of Gail being the writer, but every single detail that we know is telling me she's the writer at the same time, because this is what Marvel does. Their free comic book day issues are always a tease of the future. Every single one of these stories that we know outside of this is being told by the same creative team with almost no changes to the one that's going to be telling the story that's coming after. Like the Blood Hunt tease, the Spider-Man tease. Now we know Dennis Camp is working on Ultimates. It's all straight.
My biggest check in the "it's not happening" column is that there was no big announcement.
But there was no announcement for Dennis Camp.
Because Ultimates line already exists. It's just a new Ultimates book. This is a whole new line and era of the X-Men. It's bigger than another Ultimates book when we already have 3 of them.
I think that's
I
fair.
feel like this would have been, especially post Krakoa, I feel like there would have been at least a Monday morning press release about it.
But they didn't even do that for Gods. This is
They did.
Free comic book day issues are always like this.
But Gods was announced before the Free Comic Book Day thing. It had a
guess.
press release.
Yeah. And but I think that point's salient, Tyler. I think you need that big just bombastic announcement, because you're trying to drum up a bit of fervor. And as much as the Free Comic Book Day is indicative, I think for something like the future of X-Men, you need a stance.
Guys, it's January. It's January. It doesn't start until what, July?
I know, but
and
if
we're
you're
still in the middle of the end. They're not soliciting that until we're way closer to the end than we are.
I don't think it needs to be a solicit. I think it could be an announcement. Like they announced in November, they're like, news coming this month, and it never happened. Because they were planning on announcing something and they didn't. And I feel like even on the cover of this, it almost feels like they're trying to hide that the X-Men are part of this. because it's like plus, you know, it's a side story that doesn't even get a part of the cover outside of a logo. I don't know. Something
Yeah.
smells weird about this.
Because of the fact that the current era's not over.
Fair, fair. It just smells weird to me.
I feel like this is how it always is when there's an impending era. And Blood Hunt is imminent. So if you look at the cover, it's Blood Hunt plus X-Men from the Ashes. Blood Hunt is what's coming now. I don't know. We'll see. But Gail Simone could end up being announced as the ongoing writer for the X-Men. We know that she's working on this short story potentially with David Marquez. We'll see where things go. I don't think David Marquez is a guy you get just to do a one-off story. If they got David Marquez back, my mind tells me that he is the artist for the X-Men.
Where's he been? Do we know? Like,
Marquez went to DC to work with Bendis, but I don't know. I can't think of what he's been doing since that.
Sorry. I posted the story, the image, the thumbnail on our story. It's a future of X-Men, Jim Lee, and Jeff Johns just did a shocked face emoji reaction to it. So.
Sick.
Nobody.
Yeah, I mean, looking at his Wikipedia page, David Marquez's, the last thing he's credited for here, which it's Wikipedia, so is Detective Comics, a short story in 2020.
Yeah, he's been kind of away for a bit, I think.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Did he get hurt? Why do I feel like I've heard that?
I don't know. Mm. Before we move on, because there's a lot more X-related stuff, I want to say hello to the chat. I see a lot of you guys out there. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Let's get those likes up. We've got a fun game we're going to play a little bit later. And I want to hear your thoughts on this story. Is Gail Simone and David Marquez the team for the X-Men going forward? That's the question right now.
Can I throw you a question?
Yes. And Marco, please put up a poll if you can. Go ahead.
Yep.
How does that creative team sound to you?
I am excited by it. I like Gail Simone a lot. And I feel like she's never really been given the ball per se. And I think David Marquez is a phenomenal talent. That being said, would I be more excited if the name was Donny Cates or Scott Snyder or even Kelly Thompson, just because of they're hotter right now? Yes.
I like the idea of Gail on the book. I think Gail's, like you said, one of those people that, I mean, she's one of like the more prominent female writers out there. And the most recent thing she did at Marvel, she did more recent things like Variants, the Jessica Jones book.
Yeah.
But her stuff with like Domino, real fun stuff, real cheery, fun, goofy. I mean, sorry, Rob, but she kind of made Deadpool who Deadpool is, in terms of the characterization, him being a goofy weirdo, and not just a mercenary. So like she has a hand in X-Men already that I'm pretty excited to see. And honestly, with how dreary and depressing the fall of X-Line has been, in my opinion, within the past couple months, something a little more lighthearted, it would be something I would welcome with open arms.
I just don't want that at the detriment of like really, really great big X-Men storytelling. We cannot go back to basics and then go to the small scale stories. The X-Men is an anchor franchise, and it needs to be treated like that. We had way too many years of like little shitty X stories just to pass the time.
It's even more of an anchor franchise coming up too. Like
Yeah.
it is an IP anchor at that point.
There's the only Marvel movie coming out in this year, 2024, is Deadpool 3.
Yes.
An X-Men movie. There is no way that the X-Men are not going to be at the top of the mountain this year. They have to be. So,
Mountain on Mars.
That's with Wolverine too in that movie too. So
Yeah, the big thing. And I think, Sean, that's the biggest issue for me is we came from Mars to a mansion, right? If that's the trajectory, I'm cold on it.
I can see that. I feel like there's going to be some angle. I don't think they're going to live on Mars. I think that's a pipe dream, but I think there's going to be some angle that makes this interesting and intriguing for the people like yourself that say it's way too much of a rubber band. Something has to stick or something has to be different. I can see that. Flo Dameron says, only thing Marvel I'm excited for is the Ultimate line. Everything feels stale at Marvel. Everything feels stale at Marvel right now outside of Ghost Rider and Hulk.
Ooh, Hulk's been. Oh, Ghost Rider.
Let's put a pin in that.
Yeah,
we're
'cause
gonna
I have
talk
thoughts
about
on
that a little later.
I have thoughts on that.
Yeah. Atomic Count says I would be excited if they said they were relaunching with no more than 3 to 4 titles a month. Yes.
Yes. One of them being Fallen Angels. That's what I want to see.
Oh God. I like that book. Yeah, I mean, you got to have a core X-Men title, right? So whatever you're gonna call it, uncanny, adjectiveless, who cares? You have to have an offbeat, quirky book, I think. But then do solo titles count? Because we already know we're getting Wolverine. So I don't want there to be only 2 X-Men team books and 1 solo book.
In my mind, Wolverine is always separate. Like, I think it wasn't until the Krakoa age where I was like, oh, Wolverine is part of the X-Men line. I don't know why my brain always thought it that way.
I see that because he's just off doing his own stuff a lot of the time. Like, he crosses over, but he crosses over in other books.
Yeah, he crosses over to Jean and Scott's bedroom.
Hey yo. I think 3 to 4 titles is solid. X-Men, agreed, adjectiveless or otherwise. Wolverine, I'm gonna count that. Something related to the magic world, because I think that's still pretty big and was pretty popular.
You could do an X-Force.
Or an X-Force. Yeah, and that feels good. And then from there you do little variants, little offshoots to supplement what people want with certain characters.
And we know there's a new Deadpool book coming out as well, so
that I'll count as separate. That I don't think is X.
Yeah, my man's not even immune. All right. So one book we know for sure is coming is Wolverine. It's the 50th anniversary. They're not going to not have a Wolverine book on stands. And I think that they clearly want to do big things with the character. You know, Deadpool 3 and all that. So it appears that they went and got the biggest artist for the job that they could. So Greg Capullo shared art on Instagram of finished pencils for an upcoming Marvel project. It shows like a tribe of people. They're like they're walking in the jungle. And there's a huge dinosaur foot.
Yeah.
It looks like the Savage Land. It looks like they're in the Savage Land. And some people were saying they think they saw Khazar. I didn't see Khazar, but okay.
What do you mean? Like it's a static image. Like,
yeah. In the Twitter version of the post, this is what Bleeding Cool says. I did not see the Twitter version.
Same.
It's been deleted.
Yeah.
It was revealed that is a page from an issue of Wolverine.
Nice.
It was apparently like in the page layout. It has the title of the book on the top left corner.
Yeah. So that's it. As far as outside of Marvel officially announcing it themselves, this is Greg Capullo on Wolverine. And it makes sense because months ago, Capullo shared what looked like a cover, and if it wasn't a cover, you know, it was a shot. It was a shot of Wolverine, and it was a really good shot of Wolverine, and it looks like it sort of goes with this.
Yep. Little swampy, little mucky.
Yeah.
Your favorite. So as was I the only one who said it wouldn't be Wolverine
No,
for Capullo's book?
I said Hulk was I said
Okay.
Hulk. So we're
Question.
down one, Tyler.
Well, not yet. What if he's on like Wolverine and then it's like a mini series with a title attached to it, and it's not
If
a
it's the
proper.
only Wolverine book, then it counts.
Okay, so I'm not seeding yet.
I give
No,
up.
you
Wolverine,
shouldn't.
Savage Land.
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
If it's called Savage Lands, right? It's not it's not Wolverine book. So
True.
it has to be called Wolverine. It has to be the only Wolverine book. Those are the qualifications.
Savage Land special.
Yeah,
Here we go.
because if this comes out in like Greg Capullo, almost like a black label, and then the new X-Men line gets announced and there's a Wolverine book in there, then I'm gonna argue it a bit.
I wouldn't even argue with you. I would say you're right.
Oh, it would probably be Kale I'd be arguing with.
Kel wants the point.
We had very specific
Criteria.
yeah. So this is what I wanted. I think this is great. A lot of people get upset, and we're going to talk more about this subject in a little bit, but a lot of people get upset when veteran creators return to a series or a character or whatever that they're known for. Obviously, people associate Greg Capullo with Wolverine on a lot of levels, and I never really got to see that. That's from before my time as a fan of comics. So for me, Greg Capullo returning to do Wolverine, this page we saw looks incredible. Greg Capullo still has it, and there's absolutely no reason why I would not want this.
Not to mention his style was changed. His style back when he originally did it was more akin to a house style. It's not. It's with a little bit of stylization that separated, and you can tell who's who. But like since then, his style has completely changed.
Yeah, just
So
grows
I'm
in
more than
artists.
happy. Yeah.
I would love to see like a pre and post like returning and just like compare images and see what the differences are. It has to be something in like the inks and the scratchiness and stuff.
Yeah, like I think about it was Chris Bacalo who did next generation, I believe, back in like the 90s, and it feels like Chris Bacalo, but it's not quite the current Chris Bacalo that's real out there and wild, and anatomy is crazy. So it is cool seeing those artists in a more contemporary setting.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying anyone is upset about this specific thing. I'm saying that generally speaking, I mean, how many stories have we done about the 90s, nostalgia bait books that people get mad about?
Sure, yeah.
People get mad when Chris Claremont comes back to work on X-Men, yada, yada, yada.
Or even like Dan Slott writing more Spider-Man.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
That was a huge one. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think this is great. What we don't know, what we haven't heard any rumors about, is who will join Greg Capullo for this Wolverine story.
Amin in the chat saying PKJ, yo, that would slap.
I say no one.
Ooh, solo? Wait,
I
writer
think,
artist?
yeah, I would like to see what he could do there. I feel like Capullo could do something really cool.
Damn, I'm into that.
Capullo's working on the Creech, the graphic novel.
Yeah.
And is that his own thing? Does he do that alone?
I believe so.
The Creech?
Yeah, I think it's called Creech.
Or it's something like that.
Yeah.
But like the dude's been around the industry for long enough. I like when I can see an artist, write and do their own singular image type story.
Again, referring to Wikipedia, not the most reliable thing in the world. It says that it was created by Greg Capullo. So, I mean, that doesn't mean that no writer has ever worked on it, but it does mean no. I should say no writer other than Greg. But yeah, he's credited that way. So it's possible. Yeah, it's written. Yeah. It's written and drawn by him. So that is a possibility.
That would also help him with his money too. Like if he was doing both.
Yeah.
He would get more pay. My only concern is that while we're still months out from the launch of whatever this is, I would imagine, he's also still working on Creech. So working on the Creech trade, and then this new Wolverine, that might be a lot.
And I think that's why it feels like in my gut that this is like a special mini, Wolverine mini.
Just a one-shot thing.
Well, if Marvel had Black Label, it would be something like that.
I feel like he hasn't come back. I mean, what was the last series he does? He does stuff all the time with Scott Snyder, like a few 6 to 12 issues here and there. But if he's, I don't know, maybe he's at that point in his career where he's like, I just want to kind of get back into superhero stuff for a little bit. Him being back on the book is phenomenal, and however long we get will be a treat. It'll be dessert. So I'm excited for it nonetheless. But if he's willing to stay on for like 10, 15 plus issues, that would be cool.
It would be. I would really love to see that. I mean, 12 issues is a year, right? So if Capullo's on Wolverine for a year, I think that's great.
Yeah, we're eating good.
Yeah.
Just give me like a Wolverine Wendigo or Wolverine Sabretooth fight, and I'll be happy.
Yeah. Oh, that's going to be so cool, man.
Yeah. Greg Capullo is certainly not going to disappoint us on Wolverine. By the way, as we dig in now to the really what is the main event of this presentation, I want to say thank you guys for being here. Make sure you hit the like button. We want to get to 20. We want to get to 20. Actually, I should probably refresh so I can see what we're at now. 17. Oh my god, 20. 25. Let's do 25.
3 shy.
Super chats are open, so if you want to kick off the new year with a super chat, we would of course appreciate it. Now, at the top, I said that the future of the X-Men almost included Jim Lee. How could that be possible? Jim Lee is the top dog at DC Comics. I mean, he's like one step away from God at DC. And yet, it appears that he was almost swayed from his cush executive suite position at DC to get back in the trenches at Marvel to draw the X-Men. How do I know that? Well, I heard it from comics daddy himself, Rob Liefeld.
Ooh, comics daddy.
Right from the horse's mouth.
Yeah. Now, for those of you who don't know, Rob Liefeld, who is, one of the veterans of the industry, one of the co-creators of Deadpool, took the X-Force to incredible heights, did really amazing things, then went over to Image, became an Image founder, all that good stuff. He's got a podcast called Robservations. I listened to the most recent episode, and I have to say it was fun. It was a good show.
It's a good conversation.
Yeah,
he's a showman. Rob Liefeld's a showman for sure.
Yeah. And the episode was called "From Jim Lee to Plan B."
Oh, that's so good.
It is. It's very good. And it was, aside from some, side rambles, it was largely about what he has heard, the rumors that he has heard, that while Marvel was planning the end of the Krakoan era and trying to figure out what would come next, the name Jim Lee was at the top of the list. Now, that makes sense, right? That makes sense. Rob talked about how there are 2 things that could happen in comics left. Like dream, Tyler, how we always talk about like dream matches in wrestling.
Sure,
it's like
Stone Cold CM Punk.
Yeah. Dream things that could happen in comics. And he said that there are 2 left, creator-based. One of them is Jim Lee's return to the X-Men, because the X-Men have never sold as many comics before or since. And the other is Todd McFarlane on Spider-Man, returning to Spider-Man.
That'd be cool.
Absolutely.
We're 3 years away from that.
Well, for what it's worth, Rob said that he personally believes that both of those things will happen.
Damn.
I don't doubt that, honestly.
I completely agree with him on both counts. I think that those are the biggest things left, and I think that they both will happen. It makes all the sense in the world. If you're talking about box office, you're talking about big money, those are the big money moves.
But is it like he comes back for an issue kind of thing, and that's the big deal?
We're just chatting right now. I'm gonna
Okay,
dive
okay,
deeper into the
okay,
story in a
okay.
moment.
All
I guess I'll just do it now.
right.
So Rob talked about how the Krakoan era got off to a rough start because of the fact that the Moira McTaggart story. God, I'm obsessed with all of this. Jesus. Okay. So when Moira first appears in House and Powers, it's very much, hey, I've lived all these lives. We see all her different lives, and we see how in each of these lives, mutants get hunted and killed ultimately. And she's here now in the current timeline, in the current life, right? With Professor Xavier to say we have to do things in a different way. At the time, a lot of people drew the conclusion that Jonathan Hickman stole that concept from a book called The 15 Lives of Harry August, which is an awesome book. And Hickman himself talked about how much he loved that book and how he read that book over a long summer. And then, of course, there are similarities. It's not the same. I think people took that out of proportion. But the writer, Claire North, she was tweeting about this, and she talked a lot about her feelings about this. And Rob's supposition was that she was tweeting, her lawyers were talking and sending letters to Marvel. And that's why Marvel pivoted with Moira, and that's why the lives thing never came up again really after House and Powers. It's used as a device on the part of Sinister, but it's not actually a thing that they go back to.
Yeah.
I don't know if I believe that's why they pivoted and then made Moira bad and everything else. But who knows? We'll never know. Maybe we will.
I don't see how Marvel, aka Disney, would back down from such a dubious claim to like an infringement. It's a concept. It's not like characters and actual plot with us. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a good point, though.
So that's how he started off the conversation. And he said, and of course, waning interest came quickly after House and Powers of X on the part of readership. He even claims that this whole Krakoan era should have only lasted 1 year. But when we got into the nitty gritty, he said that in the spring of 2023, Marvel approached Jim Lee not only to get in the trenches and draw the interiors of this new X-Men line, the main X book, but to be the architect and to spearhead the future of the X-Men from a top-down standpoint.
Does that include film?
No, I'm talking about comics.
Just comics, okay.
So you take the artist who was a part of the biggest era of X-Men of all time, the best-selling era ever, and someone who has almost more executive, big time experience in comics at the highest levels than anybody. Anyone who could step down and draw doesn't have that level of experience other than Quesada and McFarlane at this point. And you take that guy and you put him on X-Men and you say, and you're going to oversee this whole deal. Liefeld said he heard this from his industry contacts, the people that he knows in the industry. A guy like that, I'm sure he has friends all over the map. And that Marvel approached him with big money because they have Disney. And there's no way that Disney would not want Jim Lee to be a part of this. If the Marvel brass go to whoever the bean counter is at Disney that they have the contact with and say, hey, we want to pull up the Brinks truck to Jim Lee with 7 figures. Can we make that happen? They said yes. So they approached Jim Lee with this offer. The story goes that he took some time to mull it over. This was in the back channels of every pub, post-con, and everything else, right? And the thing about Jim Lee is that he's a workaholic. When he was young and he was doing pages for, whatever he was doing at Image at the time, he would start drawing at 10, 11 p.m. and finish and go home at 6 a.m. This is when he's in his 20s, right? And apparently at that time, I guess it was Wildstorm or whatever the studio was called that Lee was on at that time. There were a lot of workhorses there that would stay up all night. And Rob said he used to call Jim at 1 a.m. when he couldn't sleep. And he always knew that Jim Lee would be up. And they'd both be drawing together. They would talk about whatever was going on. So that's the kind of man that Jim Lee is. Now, Jim Lee has children. And he doesn't have children like Rob does, because Rob's got children that are grown and living their lives. Jim Lee has younger children. So the executive position that he has allows him to work more standard hours and get paid the kind of money that he's used to getting paid. But Rob says that Jim Lee is absolutely thinking about his post-DC career. Can't do it forever. And so because of that, this was a very, very difficult decision. Rob says that ultimately, the decision came down to not money and not what he would prefer to do, but what he can't do, which is do interiors at the level that it would take and be there for his family.
I mean, I think about what was his most recent interiors. It was
his most recent interiors was and this is something that a lot of people don't recognize. His most recent interiors were the first 10 pages of Suicide Squad for the first few issues, however long that was, in 2016.
Which, very good run. That was Rob Williams writing it.
But it was only the first 10 issues of each issue, or pages, excuse me.
And even then, some of those issues would just not have Jim Lee on it. It was very inconsistent. It was good. It looked real nice. But it was inconsistent. Yeah, and I wonder if, that's probably left a sour taste in his mouth, too. Just from a creative. The last book I was on, I was barely on. So I can see the want to be doing an X-Men book there, as a creative.
Nah, I think he's transcended. He's an executive now. That's where he's at. His mindset's at. I don't think enough money in the world would bring him back into art unless he gave up the roles that he's in, and to take that big a step down. I don't see it. That's not strategic. Jim Lee's he seems like he's got a good head on his shoulder. He thinks through things. There's some conversation in the chat. Atomic Hound Colombo, using this as leverage to get his most recent promotion. I can see that. He's thinking long term, and that's too short term for a Jim Lee at this point. He's not there.
This reeks of bullshit to me.
Same.
I don't see any reality where Marvel and Disney can offer anything monetarily similar to what he's making at DC for just their comic books.
Not even that.
That doesn't make sense to me.
I think they can probably unlock the budget, but I don't think Jim Lee cares to do the more work. He's in a place where he's doing higher concept stuff than the grunt work of drawing
He's
a
what
book.
chief creative officer for DC.
And
He recently got a promotion. He's the CCO, president, publisher.
Yeah, which is a big deal, and there's a lot of skill set there. I don't see them. I don't see Disney or Marvel putting up that kind of cash for a comic gig, unless it was all right. You have Marvel Studios involvement too to help. Then I can see money actually being there. Doesn't make sense for just comics. But I do see maybe when I do see Jim Lee thinking about what he does post DC. And I can imagine like once he retires at DC, hopefully it's a retire, not an ousting like they've done with so many executives over the years. Him maybe doing a vanity project at Marvel and probably getting good money for it, but nowhere near as close to, chief creative officer and publisher money. Marvel it doesn't pay that well. It's just not in the cards. Yeah, I think this is great for Rob's podcast, but outside of that,
you're thinking about what they pay the people that work there now.
Sure, yeah.
To get Jim Lee back, if you don't think Marvel would throw every dollar and cent they possibly can, then you just don't know.
I don't think the investment, even if the comic sold incredibly well, it wouldn't be worth that investment.
Of course it would. To have Jim Lee back in the fold, you're bugging out.
I don't think it would.
There are people who look. Those comics were selling in the millions.
Sure.
Those people are still here. A lot of them. Jim Lee comes back. Everybody that stopped reading the X-Men is back.
Yeah, they get an issue 1.
That's a big deal. If an issue one that you can charge $7 for sells, I don't know, 100,000 copies, and that's a conservative number. It won't sell 100,000. It'll sell more than that. You're making almost $1 million off the first issue of the comic, and that's probably just the blank issue or the A cover. We're not even talking about variants and incentives and everything else. That is the hottest possible selling comic in comics. And on top of that, you don't just have him as an interior grunt worker, you have him as an overseer. Sure. And you probably sign him to a Legends deal. So you have Jim Lee for some time. And you have the X-Men coming back in the films. You don't want the architect, the guy that drew the look and feel of the X-Men from the 90s that everybody loves back in the fold?
Doctor Strange was dead when the Doctor Strange movie came out. They don't care about what happens in the movies aligning with the comics.
See, Tyler, but they actually do. The reason why they do that is exactly so they can relaunch so they can have something recent, a big event, a recent event with the character to sell, but also to sell a new number 1. DC did the exact same thing verbatim with Batman when The Dark Knight came out. Batman was dead when The Dark Knight came out. Dead.
Well, I mean, yeah, The Dark Knight's
that's a common tactic between the big two.
I mean, not with Aquaman. But like, I just don't see that money going into comics. I think they realize they can get Jim Lee down the line for a lot less than chief creative officer money.
I think that they would have to. He'd have to retire. He'd have to be literally bored.
Exactly.
Bored out of his mind to do something, and then they'll come to him and be like, "Hey, I think the Legends deal makes sense. Yeah. I think his book would sell hotcakes." But where he's at now, he's comfortable in doing the work that he wants to do post being a creative, and I think he's still interested in exploring what that looks like post being a creative.
You think that Jim Lee, one of the greatest artists of all time, doesn't have an itch?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I agree.
You said he would have to be literally bored to want to do this. You think he doesn't have the itch?
But that doesn't mean that you have an itch, but you don't have the time to scratch it.
Yeah,
we know that. He said no to the deal. That's not what you said. You said he's bored and he's beyond that. I'm saying he's Jim Lee. There's no being beyond doing interiors. If he could, if he had the time. Right now he doesn't. He said no. But this conversation started because you guys said that this was not real. Yeah, I'm saying this definitely was real.
No, I still don't think it's real.
Yeah,
I think there's no way that that's strategic and There's no way that they would put something in front of him, knowing where he's at, that it would even make sense for him to be like to look at it. It's like an immediate, just like, I appreciate that. I'm where I'm at.
That's
You
like
think it doesn't make sense for him to look at it? You guys
Why?
are bugged.
that's
out.
like TNA
Wow.
saying I'm gonna try and get Brock Lesnar when he's a free agent. Like
It's not the same on any level. That is completely different, Tyler. Wow.
It's
I
I just
the same
don't
on any level.
just they don't. There's no money in comics for chief creative officer. If it was a Marvel Studios role, then I would be like, sure, maybe there would be something there. Not in just comics.
You know what's funny? Whenever we talk about this subject, the money in comics, when we're talking about it, you guys always say, "Oh, well, they have Disney. It's Disney and Warner Brothers. They can pay up." But now that we're talking about Jim Lee, you're saying, "Oh, they don't have that kind of money." Of course they have.
No, they do have that kind of money, just not for comics.
All right. We got a super chat from
Yes.
Deus Ex Macchiato. $10 super chat. Thank you.
That was really good. Yeah.
If DC is interested in elevating their Titans, I'd rather see Jim Lee do that title than X-Men. I will admit, X-Men with a Jim Lee comeback would be a layup. Of course.
Yeah.
It's the surest bet that exists.
Titans,
Which is
Titans-
why I was like, just wait till he's not chief creative officer, and you don't have to like match that money
Yeah, but
come
why
back.
would they not offer it to him when they're in the middle of a relaunch?
because it's too expensive.
Okay. I didn't even think
Tyler,
that
I don't understand why you can't get this. They're in the middle of a relaunch.
Uh-huh.
They offered Jim Lee a contract to bring him back. That doesn't make sense to you that
No.
they're in the middle of the relaunch?
Not in comics, no, too
Oh
expensive.
my god. Okay.
that money aside, it's just not strategic.
What's strategic? What are you talking about? How is that not strategic for Marvel to make that offer?
You're going from an executive position to managing a line.
You're not
That's a
even
step
responding
down.
to what I just asked you. How is it not strategic for Marvel to offer Jim Lee that contract?
Because it's not a lateral move. It's a step down from where he's at. The stuff that he's doing now is not the same kind of work that he's going to be doing, and it's not work that he's interested in doing currently. That's why he's continuing to get promotions in the executive space. It's not executive work.
You still haven't answered the question that I asked you.
That's what I'm saying. That's the strategic part. The strategic part is matching whether or not he's doing executive level work. That is not executive level work. That is not strategic.
So it's not strategic to offer the biggest artist possible a contract.
It is not strategic to offer the biggest artist possible a contract for work that he's not currently doing.
When he's not just an artist anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's the story that Rob told. I
Great
believe
podcast,
it.
I bet. Yeah.
I think it'll happen one day. And I hope it
crossed.
does.
Fingers
I'm looking
crossed.
forward to it.
I do think it'll happen one day too, but I think it would be a vanity project once, his time at DC is gone already and he's kind of just chilling.
Yeah.
Atomic Count says, I think there was probably something to it, but given his recent promotion and most likely non-competes in the deal, it's a moot point. This is before the recent promotions, and he was in the middle of negotiations with DC. The space was there.
I would also argue that I also don't believe it because Rob Liefeld is saying it.
Weaving a tail.
Oh, king of it.
Love that guy. Unblock us, please.
Yeah. I think this is just one of those. This is one of those could have beens. That, I guess we'll see. Time will tell if this will materialize into something.
Now, Todd McFarlane. See, they put up money for his Spawn movie. They'll do whatever they want, baby. They got him by the balls.
Okay, so let me get this straight.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying this is bizarre. You're saying that it's not strategic for Marvel to offer Jim Lee a contract, but it is strategic to offer Todd McFarlane, who is one of the tips of the spear, one of the founders at Image, who runs an entire publishing line, to leave that to go and do Spider-Man at Marvel.
But he's currently
yeah.
doing writing, right?
He works in comics.
He works in comics. Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed. That's a lateral move.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah.
That's not a fucking lateral move. He's an executive. How is that lateral?
He's
But
not an
he's not-
executive of multiple branches. He's just working.
It
in
doesn't
comics.
matter. He's an executive. That was the point. That's what you guys
No,
said. He's an
that's not the
executive.
point.
But he's doing interior. He's doing work.
The dude can't even get a movie made. Jim Lee is running the creative side of an entire brand of DC
What does
Comics
that matter?
characters.
Jim Lee can't get a movie made. What are you talking
No,
about?
they're coming out with it.
What are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense. He
But
can't
I'm
make a
saying
movie.
is Jim Lee is working in more than just comics right now.
No, he's not. What are you talking about?
He's
He
running the whole
literally only works in comics.
but it's
Good
the
point.
brand of DC Comics, not just it's the IP of DC Comics rather than Todd is just working. I mean, I guess Spawn has some IP, but it's not DC.
It's the exact same thing. That is crazy. It's the
Jim-
exact same thing.
Jim's last book was 2016, and McFarlane's last book was 2023. Like
Yeah,
that to
last
me is
week.
the difference.
They do different things in comics.
That's what I'm-
They
that's
do
what I'm
different
saying.
things. Jim Lee does not write.
Right. He doesn't write or do art. Right. He doesn't do interiors. He doesn't do covers. He's not working in the production end of comics. He's working on at a different branch of that. But McFarlane is still doing the dirty work there. That I see. That I understand because he's working actively in putting out productions.
He's too busy making no female action figures.
Ooh,
Actually, the Wonder Woman one just came out. It looks pretty good.
it did. Yeah, that was good. Didn't Sylve get it? I think somebody got it recently in the chat. I feel like in Discord. Join the Discord.
Sean being baffled by something Marco says. Yes, happy Saturday.
Bro, it's
Yeah,
not
because
lateral.
there's no logic to this. There's no logic.
No.
There's no logic to it.
I think you're thinking
strategy.
too small, Sean. I think you're thinking just comics.
No, I think you guys are thinking too small. I think you guys are completely underestimating how much a Jim Lee X-Men #1 would sell.
Not 7 figures
No,
for
I think
one
it's-
person.
You're Tyler, I don't understand you. You don't think that book would make $1 million.
No, sorry. I don't think giving a singular person a 7-figure payout is worth that.
But they're not giving him a 7-figure payout to do one singular issue of a comic book. They're giving him a 7-figure payout to oversee a line that when he was a part of was the biggest line in comics. Nothing's been bigger before or since.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he's going to do interiors and presumably will have some type of legacy deal on top of that. The idea that you don't think that that's worth a couple $1 million is mind-blowing to me.
They had trouble giving Hickman money. And that's
How
what
do you know that?
Manny says in the chat.
How do you know that?
Didn't Marvel or Hickman even say that?
Manny says, I have a hard time believing this because Marvel said they were paying Hickman too much money for what he was doing. I don't think bringing Lee back would. That's not what he said. That's not what he said. If Manny's referring to what I think Manny is referring to, which I could be entirely wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong, you're talking about the fact that Hickman said Marvel pays me too much money to just do the X-Men, right? Is that if that's correct, which I don't know that that's what Manny's saying. If that's correct, Hickman wasn't saying that Marvel's paying him too much money. He's saying they're paying him too much money to just do that. And let me tell you, Hickman is not on the same level as Lee in terms of box office for that specific book.
Yo, Comic Boom coming in hot in the chat. Jim Lee is the laziest, most overrated creator in comics.
All right,
brother.
Damn.
A Jim Lee X-Men would not hit 1 million. Not a chance. Chill, buddy. Chill.
1 million sales? No. The comic will not sell 1 million copies.
No.
But will it make millions of dollars? Of course it will.
There's no comic selling 1 million copies anymore.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
Even if they gave us digital numbers to add to that, it's not selling.
10%. You're gonna add a couple, just 100K in there.
Not even close. It's just not the way the industry is anymore.
Man, not the size.
The drop off will be crazy. Who cares? Who cares? It's not going to drop to the numbers that they're at now. I'll tell you that.
It'll stay up there. It'll stay up
Yeah,
there
of
for
course
a
it
little
will.
bit. It's gonna have
If
a
you
long
don't
cap.
if you don't think that, then you have a completely different view of the comic book industry than I do. Because there are people who I buy comics, I don't read, okay? Most people do that. There are people that will absolutely eat up every single one of these just for the Jim Lee cover alone.
The variants would be so nice. Damn. I'd love this, but it's a pipe dream. I don't think it happened.
Deus Ex says, I don't want him writing the comics if the old Wildcat stories are any indicator. Yeah, we don't need him to write them. That's not what we're looking for. Marvel ain't hiring the man to write.
Please.
Man, we don't need
imagine,
that.
imagine being the writer in a Jim Lee X-Men book, getting paid 10% when the artist is getting paid.
Cole says if Transformers 1 can push 100 plus K in 2023, Jim Lee X-Men could push 250. I think it's easily above that. At least for the number one.
Oh,
I think it's easily above that.
Star Wars did sell a lot. I do remember that. I don't know, man. You know what? Never say no.
Lee is slower than Johns. I mean, you can't compare them. Lee doesn't do at the same time that Jim Lee did Suicide Squad, he was an executive.
Talking about Jeff Johns?
I assume. Who else? Johns who?
One's a writer, one's an artist. I don't got it.
Because Jeff Johns is known for being slow, but Jeff Johns is also always working on, multiple properties.
I don't even know how Jeff Johns is known for being slow. It's Doomsday Clock that is doing that to people, which had consistently put out Green Lantern, consistently put out Justice League, consistently put out Geiger, Junkyard Joe. Doomsday Clock is the outlier.
3 Jokers, I believe, was also.
That's right. Yeah. It's just time management.
Yeah, and he's a busy guy. Deus X with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. What you do is tie his creative choices to what they want him to do in movies and offer him a percentage of the movie's success. So the idea, or at least the first part of that idea that I get is, whatever it is that Marvel wants the X-Men to look like in the films, having Jim Lee present to oversee getting to that place. And also providing some enticing art to get people excited about the X-Men again. I think that would help. The wider audience is not excited about the X-Men right now. I don't even feel like there's that much excitement for the relaunch. Jim Lee's name would do just that.
I mean, it would be nice if they actually announce what they're relaunching.
They can't yet. It's not Marvel's fault.
I know, but at least if they want to drum up excitement, that's what you do.
Star Wars #1 was the last million copy seller. I believe anything newer than that. No, I don't think there is.
That was over the course of years, though. Like it wasn't that initial. It wasn't that initial launch. I don't think.
Star Wars #1 is a weird tale. I don't have the information right in front of me, but I've read that there was some finagling about free issues that were provided or something like that. A million individual people did not buy Star Wars #1, and I don't think a million copies of that sold. There's something fishy about that.
You know who'd know? The printers. That'd be an interesting deep dig.
Yeah. And I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I did read that at some point.
Deus Ex Macchiato. The creator of Blood Wolf can't lie, right?
No, never. Rami Darwish says, I think they will utilize the Hickman era as much as possible, like they did with the Avengers. Utilize it in current comics because it's ending. Maybe you mean like in the film space?
Oh man, I would love. We've talked about that. I would love to see Krakoa just like anarchistic X-Men, dude. Seeing them the attack on Mother Mold. Oh.
See Nightcrawler's Fuck Island. Let's go Disney. Baby. Let's do it.
Well, we're going to definitely talk a lot more about, what the X-Men are going to do on film as we get closer to that reality.
Hey, yo.
Okay, yeah, Rami meant in the movies. Yeah, I don't want to get into a whole big conversation about that. I will just say I think if they intended to do Krakoa in the movies, they wouldn't be ending the Krakoan era.
Agreed. Yep.
This is the biggest marker of that not happening that they could have given us, at least to me. Although I think it's ran its course. I think we really are at a point where it kind of is like over. But yeah. So that's the big story. Jim Lee almost, maybe, sort of came back to the X-Men, according to Rob Liefeld. That's the Robservations podcast. It's a good show. I liked it.
Nice.
I liked it.
A friend of the show, Rob Liefeld. Yeah.
Unblock us, please.
We met him. We had a good conversation with him.
It was great. And then like 3 weeks later, bloop.
He blocked you.
Chill.
It was before I was on the show. I'm not blaming him.
I think it was we got caught at one of those like big.
He probably in blockchain. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it was. And he will never see this, so he won't even hear our pleas
until we're on Robservations.
Yeah, right. Okay, we have a lot more show to get into. We're gonna have some fun. There's so much news to talk about. I can't believe how big of a week this was. Between like the comics that came out, which were great. If you haven't heard Pals Pulls, there were some really good books.
That's right.
And all the news, this is a year that is starting off strong. So I'm excited to talk about a lot of what's going on. I'm also excited to talk about Patreon, patreon.com/thecomicspals. It's a new year, but we're still doing what we've been doing, which is providing you with awesome stuff on the Patreon side of things. If you have never been a part of our Patreon, or if you have been and you bounced off, there is so much exclusive stuff there waiting for you to unlock. You guys, of course, get to vote in the book club poll. We'll refer back to that in a moment. You get exclusive newsletters over there from us. You get an exclusive show. There's a whole podcast out there that you haven't heard called Palling Around. But also, you get to join the Palsverse. You get a superhero nickname and a shout out if you join us at the I Shall Become a Pal tier. And right now, I want to take this moment to say thank you to those people who have joined us. Special shout out to the best pals in the universe: Thunderstruck, Rebecca Alejandro, the Hound of Justice, Atomic Hound, Starcross, Catherine Stars, and Relentless, Ryan Murphy.
Woo!
And I also want to thank the Night Stalker, Harris Dajinsky, Brian Demolisher Del Pozo, Kefis the Incorruptible, Momentum Mike Elliott, Dan the Truth Trudeau, Joel Justice, Jalen the Sanguine Sorcerer, Marvelous Mike and Mackenzie, Marley Manastorm, Slow Flow Dameron, Amin Almighty Perez, Pete the Dreamweaver Collins, and Christian Uncaged Harriet. You guys are awesome. Thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Shout out to our channel members who are also phenomenal. I already see, we've seen green names in the chat all show, but I see the emojis. Early access videos you guys get, the emojis in the chat with more to come. We're going to definitely do as much as we can to incentivize the channel membership. We want that to be a destination for you all. So thank you to those who have joined us, and thank you to anybody who is considering. I referenced the Patreon. We're going to be doing a Patreon hangout on January 28th. That is for the patrons who are at the tier where you get the hangout unlocked. You guys get to come hang out with us on a Sunday, spend your Sunday with the pals. We shoot the breeze about comics. Last time we played a game that everybody found to be pretty fun.
That was so good, man. People were pulling characters out of their ass.
That I won.
Tyler
That's
did
right.
win.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Marco.
I was just say Harris is fucking on point with that one.
Yeah, Harris was. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Basically, it was a game where we went from A to Z. You had to name a Marvel character, or Avenger, rather.
Avenger specifically.
An Avenger character, and if you couldn't name one, but there was a character whose name began with that letter, you got bounced out.
It's good.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
We were coming up with some weird ones, like
wacky.
Yeah,
wacky.
I was surprised I lasted as long as I did.
It's not the first time you said that.
Wow.
Every time.
Catherine Starr says, just supporting y'all is incentive enough. Y'all stay great. Thank you. That's nice to hear. I appreciate that. I mean, can I unsubscribe and subscribe to Patreon to get another name? Infinite Pals vs. Glitch. No. This is your identity.
You can make another Patreon account and subscribe.
Right, if you want to go nuts. But also, our patrons voted for our very next book club. They voted for what would be the first book club of the year.
Ooh.
And what ended up winning is the book we will be doing on January 30th, The Dark Knight Returns.
Let's go.
It's finally happening, huh?
It's finally happening after 7 long years. We will be talking about The Dark Knight Returns live on Tuesday, January 30th. Come hang out with us as I will take you through what is one of the greatest Batman stories of all time, a story that I have been personally waiting to dive deeply back into because there is so much under the hood of that incredible tale. I can't wait. I want you to join us. We're going to have a fun time. Not only am I going to be presenting the Dark Knight Returns book club, but we are going to be making space for you guys to talk back with us, share your thoughts about the book, your questions getting answered live during the book club. So come hang out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Go ahead, Tyler.
Oh, nothing. I keep thinking that we were going to do a Dark Knight Strikes Back, and I'm like, oh, you guys never did Dark Knight Returns. So
Take it one by one.
Dark Knight Strikes Back is an interesting read. Maybe one day maybe in another 7 years we'll get there.
Yeah. Also, I wanted to refer to the listener pick poll that is up on youtube.com/thecomicspals under the community tab. So the options, this is crazy. I can't believe where the poll is at right now. So we've got Titans Beast World number 4, which is at 35%.
Nice.
And the only reason why it's not in the main show is because next week's Pals polls is crazy. But the Sacrificers number 6 is tied at 35%. And then Wolverine 41. Wolverine, whose 50th year is now, is number is at 16%. And Rebel Moon House of the Blood Axe number 1 is at 14%.
Damn,
Where are these Snyder heads at? What are they doing?
I don't know. Maybe we needed to like at Zack Snyder.
Oh, risky move.
No, please.
No, that would just get us the votes, which I'll take. I don't care about their opinion.
Skew the vote.
That's a good cover though on the Rebel Moon cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's Max Versaggio on that doing the
really?
yeah.
And she wrote the actual movie. She helped plot the movie.
Yeah.
No way.
She worked with Zach directly. Yeah.
Oh, awesome! Congrats to her.
Yeah.
If you're wondering why she hasn't been in comics lately, it's because she was in movies.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Damn, 83 votes. Yo, you guys are crushing it. Can't wait to see the triple digits on that.
More to come. We hit triple digits every week now, thankfully.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sick.
Atomic Hound said, I can post some pages from the gallery edition if you want to use them as thumbnails. Please do. Please do. We'll see if we can integrate that somehow. You would get 20,000 bots. I take bots. When it comes to numbers that don't matter like that, I'll take it.
When it comes to the algo, we'll take any number at this point.
Although I do want to say, I really appreciate the amount of people that are supporting what we're doing, watching these videos, listening to us on podcast platforms. Those are real numbers that materially matter to us because those numbers represent individual human beings. So thank you all for that. We appreciate it. Speaking of you guys, let's give you your word. We haven't done this in a little while. It's time for some listener comments. New year. Not new people, though, because these are the same commenters that we have. These are the stalwarts. And I'm going to pass it over to Tyler now to read these off.
Yeah, so Dan Trudeau said, people talk about how Marvel isn't doing well right now, but at the same time can list multiple Marvel series that are good reads. So the question is, what exactly is Marvel doing wrong with their comics? What's missing?
Thanks for the question. So I am one of the people who says that a lot, right? That Marvel's not doing well right now. And also I'm one of the people who could list multiple books that I love. That's not quite the problem. The problem, as far as I'm concerned, and why I say it, is because it feels like there's generally just like nothing going on that's interesting. So you have pockets of good books, right? Like I love Amazing Spider-Man. Hulk's been great. Thor's pretty good. And then if I was really stretching my brain, I'm sure I could think about like 2 or 3 other things. X-Men Red just ended, but that was great. The problem is the overall direction of Marvel feels non-existent at best, and at worst, it feels crappy. I don't care about Blood Hunt. Avengers is a wet fart. X-Men is coming to an end, but it's not ending well. Even though I did love the Fall of the House of X book that everybody else hated. It doesn't feel like the structure is strong right now. And when you look at Timeless #1 that we just got, that was a mess that didn't promise anything interesting to me whatsoever. So not only am I unhappy now with the direction, I'm unhappy with the direction that they're promising for the future.
I think the issue with Marvel is everything's sandboxed right now. Everyone's in their own books. Like, I agree, Sean, like Doctor Strange, I can add to that. Fantastic Four, I can add to that. But when Marvel, you're so used to Marvel having so much more cohesion with their titles and there being an actual Marvel universe and a status quo for the Marvel universe, that when all these books are kind of off doing their own thing, it feels like the greater Marvel universe doesn't really exist. And these books don't connect. I'm not even talking about like crossovers, but it sometimes doesn't feel like they're in the same world.
Yeah.
A good example, right? Tyler, you're enjoying Gang War.
I am, yeah.
Why?
Because it feels like a standalone Marvel event where all the characters are intertwining and it's like, all right, She-Hulk's showing up here. It's a Marvel book. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You could have easily done Gang War as a Spider-Man book that doesn't include anybody but Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Why not? Spider-Man, there's no one we've seen in the Gang War that Spider-Man can't beat, right? He could do it. It's just more fun like this.
Yeah.
And it's not hurting anything, especially in the modern era. Most of the tie-ins are like separate books. Like the Daredevil tie-in is, I believe, it's Daredevil Gang War.
Yep.
1 and whatever.
Yep.
You know, the Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. If you really love Daredevil right now, it's not being interrupted by Gang.
And like, I think about, like, I really like Doctor Strange. Great book right now. I really like Gods. Great book right now. Those books feel like they're in 2 different worlds. Even though not only are they the same Marvel universe, they're in the same corner of the Marvel universe.
And Doctor Strange is in Gods.
Yeah. Yep.
In both.
So just like it just feels like there's no cohesion, and I guess maybe bring the architects back to fix that. You know, just maybe not all white dudes. But yeah, there's something missing. I will agree to that.
Harris joined us on the VI PAL side of things on YouTube, the channel membership. Thank you so much, Harris, for becoming a VI PAL. I hope you enjoy your green name, your emojis, and most importantly, the early access to videos. And more to come. More to come. I want to emphasize that. There's definitely more to come. Atomic Hound says the problem with Marvel is that nothing is missing. It's bloated and depth of talent is available. Creative and editorially just isn't there to support the number of titles. I completely agree with that. I think that when you if you just look at the names that Marvel has access to, strong names. But you can't have Al Ewing, Hickman, Jed McKay, Philip Kennedy Johnson on every single book. Other people have to work. And when you get past the top like 7 to 10 names on either side of the writer or artist end of things, it starts to get a little like,
Yeah, I think Hugh Lumbo actually has a good point here. DC is doing well with the whole there's a bigger picture for a few years now. It doesn't hurt that every main hero has a family that has something going on.
But I think there's inherently less cohesion compared to Marvel in that way. Like, it feels like Gotham is different than Metropolis, but obviously they're in they have two different environments, but they're partake in the same world. But that feels different than you have 15 heroes all in New York City, and for some reason New York City feels different in every single book.
Yeah,
15. Try 1,500.
Word, all the heroes.
Dude, when we were doing our Patreon Avengers game, I was just picturing New York City in my head.
They're all there.
Yeah,
pretty
who's
much.
flying around? Hyperion. Yeah.
I kind of agreed with the means chat here. DC is doing the same thing. No Way Beast World is happening at the same time as Amazon Attacks, while Batman is fighting Terminator and Wally's on acid trips. To be fair though, Wally's probably experiencing all that at the same time, bro, on that trip.
I agree with that. I mean, I'm personally a fan of a more structured, line that makes sense, A to B to Z type thing. It's never been perfect. I think you could make the argument even going back to, well, no, I was gonna say you can make the argument going back to Civil War, but no, everything felt like it was in Civil War time, except the space books, which were doing their own thing entirely, but that makes sense because they're not on Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
I always go back to Dark Reign. I think Dark Reign did it one of my favorite ways. Where, like, everyone had their own story going on. They were doing their own things. But there was the consistent thing was the villains were in charge now.
And there was an overarching narrative.
Yep. And occasionally you might see, Hawkeye Bullseye in one book. It'll show up in another book. So there are little threads intertwining them.
Dude, maybe you can vibe with me on this. I will never forget how excited I was when the list came out.
Yeah.
And it was like all these crazy fights.
Yeah.
And then when I think it was in the list, or maybe it was in Thunderbolts, when Norman is like, I think their Spider-Man is on the list, and Norman is just like going crazy, like finally getting the mask back or whatever. Like, I gotta kill Spider-Man.
And I think he was like, no, Spider-Man can't be on unless he's mine.
Right. Yeah. That's what it was. Yep. Damn, that was good.
It's good stuff, man.
Love comics so much. Thanks for the question, Dan.
So Atomic Hound said, how are we feeling about DC reducing the paper thickness for their A covers, but also including the A covers under the cardstock variant? I personally love it, but it does encourage people to spend a little more on a comic. And when you say A covers under the cardstock variant, I believe it's like you have the cardstock variant, and when you flip that cover, the actual book is underneath it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Cool. It's good.
It's
worth some extra money though.
I have no horse in this race because I buy it. I'm digital at this point.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So that doesn't really matter to me. But I think more of my issue is like the way this forces certain comic shops to adjust their buying practices to accommodate, these other variants and stuff.
So what I observed that Atomic Hound is talking about is that when I went to Midtown this week, there were A covers, and then there were thicker versions of that with the cover underneath the cardstock cover. So it's like cover, cardstock cover, right? Flip the page, cover, flip the page, comic book. Like interior book.
And the A cover is essentially the same paper as the interiors.
Yes. Yep. Me, I'm not a fan of that. I don't like the fact that they reduced the thickness. I think it makes it feel a little bit flimsier and cheaper. I think DC has been going cheap with even some of their interior page stock has been not great. I've been complaining about that for years on here. So I'm not happy. I haven't been happy with DC's tactics in a while.
Sean, they're the ones like currently where you can see fingerprints on them all the time, right?
Yeah. I'm unhappy with it, to answer your question. I'm glad you like it though.
Aaron Ruiz said,
let Marco get it.
Oh, okay.
I was curious, Aaron Ruiz. I was curious because of the Pine and Merrimack review. Have you guys had a hard pass on a #1? Not even a pull, but let's wait for issue #2. I can't think of one recently, but I'm sure that we have. And in those moments, I feel like we'll offer our perspective on it, but that doesn't mean that it should dissuade you from picking the book up. Our opinions are our opinions, and we'll critique it as we will. But if you like it, we'd love to have the conversation. So Aaron Ruiz, if there was a book that we picked on and you're like, the pals are fucking off on this one, let us know, man. Maybe we turn around.
My thing is, I can't think of one. Probably because I didn't like it and I forgot about it.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you it's happened. Maybe not
Sure.
all four of us saying that at one time, but I guarantee you each one of us has had a #1 where we were like, nah, that wasn't it.
Yeah.
So the example that I used in reference to this to respond to Ruiz is a book that, I mean, I don't know if you guys remember it, but it was called Click Click Boom.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And it was a #1 that we tried on Pals Pulls, and Tyler, Marco, and Kale did not like it. And they felt like it didn't do enough as an issue 1 to hook them, and they had some problems with the actual like storytelling and things like that. And for them, if I remember correctly, it was, nah, this didn't work, hard pass. Whereas I was like, I would give this a chance. And I think with Pine and Merrimack, we saw a similar thing where I said, this isn't for me. Marco's kind of more like, oh, I could give this a try. It was almost his pick of the week.
Yeah, I could vibe with it. It needs work to do to get me back, but inherently it wasn't bad.
And I can tell you, I did not read issue 2 of Click Click Boom. So,
Yeah.
Well,
Same.
I'll tell you, neither did I.
Yeah. And it was interesting. Like there was concept there, but execution. It comes down a lot of time to execution. If you have a good concept, but you're not expressing it or explaining what you want well, you can have the best concept in the world, but I'm not getting it. It's not connecting. It's not landing.
Yeah. Hey, we're 2 likes away from our goal. We've got more show to go before it matters, but let's clear. Let's clear that. Let's go even higher than 25. I think we can do even better. That's the goal, but I'm challenging you all to do even better. And by the way, also, if you're watching us live and you have the ability to open another tab and vote in the listener pick poll, you need to go do that.
Yo, Uncaged. I read all 5 Click Click Boom and I loved it. First indie book I read. Hey man,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
amazing.
Perfect.
I actually saw Click Click Boom on a couple of best of lists this year.
Really?
So like it might have just needed to cook. Who knows? But
Yeah. And
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. I liked it. Maybe I'll revisit it.
give those 2 likes for Spider-Man, the biggest Swamp Thing fan in the world.
oh, he looks bloated. He's got the gout.
He does look bloated. What the hell happened there?
Eating good.
Let's shift into the movie side of things. Let's give the movies their due. We're in a new year. But Marvel is still in trouble. Like Marvel Studios it's just like the hits keep on coming. Because now Steven Yeun, who was rumored, heavily speculated to be playing the Sentry in the upcoming Marvel film Thunderbolts, has dropped out of the project. He left the project.
It was a scheduling issue, right? Like, wasn't he doing another movie or something like that?
So he left the project citing schedule issues. He gave comments to Variety where he said the following, quote, "I think for me, time passing and things shifting kind of pulled me out of it. But Jake Schreier, who is the director, I know is going to do an incredible job." He said, I want to do a Marvel movie. It took a lot of drafts of email to make sure that I conveyed the sincerity of how sorry I was to have to back out. I probably pissed off too many people leaving, so I'm just going to say thank you for having me. I have some ideas, but I heard if you put it out there, you'll never get it, so I'll keep it close to my chest.
Ooh.
Okay, so
Tyler, excellent work on that graphic.
Oh, thank you. So he thinks he burned some bridges. It's fine. I mean, I still don't know what they're doing for Sentry. I think the same guy who leaked this or broke this news also said like the Sentry costume is one of the best MCU costumes he's seen. He's seen pictures behind the scenes or something. I don't know. Get a cool blonde dude for it. No, never mind. I really like Sentry, and I really want him to be done fun in a good way. So, I have a horse in this race for sure. So,
Yeah.
I'm with you, dude. I look. Gotta be honest. I was never over the moon about the casting. All right. I wasn't. Steven Yeun, I like him. I think he's talented. I enjoy what he does. I personally want something a little more traditional because of the fact that I love the Sentry so much, and I just want to see what was on the page. So we'll see where they go with the casting. I think Steven probably would have done a great job.
I am a little annoyed that I didn't get to see Steven Yeun with long blonde hair.
Yo,
Who knows if they even would have gone down that road.
Fair, but would have been interesting.
Get the little whip going.
Dude, yeah, Super Saiyan. I'm with it.
Yo, Amin says Sentry out, Hyperion in.
I think
We'll still get
Hyperion
Sentry.
is down the line.
Yeah, but we're getting Sentry
Sure.
for
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think we get a Squadron Supreme something or other years from now.
Man, I think they screwed up by, well, it's not too late, but like the incursions.
Sure. Yeah.
I feel like since they can't do they probably can't do the DC analog characters that Hickman did during the the Squadron Supreme of an alternate version of them or something of that nature would have been a great pairing with an Avengers team, like an Illuminati style thing.
Yeah.
But
Do his Zack Snyder Squadron Supreme movie first, and then
get out of here, dude. I would love that.
I would too, actually.
Oh man,
It's so meta. It would be so much fun.
I would love that. Wow. Tom McCown in the chat, just going wild. I'm not a casting guy, right? Like I don't love doing the whole who should play this character thing. So I'm gonna not partake. But is there someone who you think that should play the Sentry?
They're good. They'll do it.
I don't know. I don't know why the name Jacob Elordi pops out to me, but he was in Saltburn. He was in that Elvis movie. What was what's Priscilla? He was in Priscilla. Euphoria.
Oh, I have him up. Yeah.
Keanu Reeves.
Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill, I think that's a good. I mean, it's an obvious good option.
Yeah. That's a basic fan cast. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not good at this. I suck at casting, so I'm not gonna try. I don't watch enough movies to know who the young up and coming actors are.
Who does Reacher? Alan Richardson?
Who's that?
Comic Boom in the chat says the guy.
That
from
big
Reacher.
swole dude, right?
Looks like it. Yeah, Alan Richardson. You can see it.
Oh shit. Can he act?
Word. That's what matters.
I remember when people wanted Brock Lesnar to play Venom in Spider-Man 3. That was crazy. Dude, I was like 15 years old, and I was never a commenter, but I'd be on like superherohype.com, right? And I'm in the forums, and every post is like, yeah, Eddie Brock Lesnar. It's perfect. They have the same first name, last name the same. Brock Lesnar is a bodybuilder. He looks like Eddie Brock. Done deal. Done deal. Did you watch the WWE during his run between 2003 and 4? My man couldn't act his way out of a paper bag.
I don't know. I saw Monster in the Bank, or what did he call it? That was Strowman. What was Money in the Bank? Boombox Brock. He was kind of fun.
Boombox Brock. That was fun. I mean, he got better later.
Sure.
But this is 2000s Brock.
He needed a couple UFC punches to the head to unlock that acting gene.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
He got his brain scrambled all of a sudden.
He gets a cauliflower ear and Oscar nom.
Master performer. He was in Aquaman. Oh, he was Aquaman from Smallville. Wow, I remember that. Yeah, cool. Wait, wasn't that? I thought that was like. What was that guy's name? Josh? Not Josh Hartnett. No.
Josh.
There was some.
That's a blind spot for me. I can't help it.
You never watched Smallville? Okay, I'm in the wrong crowd. All right, fair enough. He's Hawk in the Titans.
Yes, that's where I recognize him from. Yep.
All right, I did watch a little bit of that. I did like that. All right, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, this is unfortunate because I started to get a little bit excited after I heard that Robert Kirkman, had heard about it or whatever, and how great the costume allegedly looked and everything else. So I'm a little bummed. I see Steven Yeun doing something in the MCU. I want to say, oh no, they can't. No, they can. What the fuck, Mr. Negative? Yes, absolutely.
Ooh, thank you for the $2 chat. Dos Ex Macchiato. Alan was great Hawk in the CW Titans. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'd argue he was a better Hawk in the Titans show than he is in the comics.
Damn, all right.
Justin Hartley. That's who I'm thinking about. He didn't play Aquaman. Why am I thinking he played Aquaman? That's so crazy, huh? And I know Harris would know because we were both watching Smallville together at that exact time. So Deus Ex, by the way, thank you for these super chats. You're amazing. And anyone who feels like super chatting, they're open. So we appreciate whoever chooses to do that.
Yeah, I think we can afford a macchiato for all three of us at this point.
I don't
Sean,
drink that.
I just Googled it. He was in the 2006 Aquaman TV show.
Oh,
He was the lead for that. Not in Smallville, but he was the lead in the 2006 one.
which never came out, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
it flopped.
Just the pilot.
Huh?
Yo, that's
It was just Justin Hartley.
Yeah,
The
that
Lord.
movie that show was washed. Huh?
Wow. He played Green Arrow. Okay, thank you. Yes. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. All right. Let's keep talking about the movies, but of course, you know, if you're talking about Marvel right now, they just lost Steven Yeun, which sucks for them. And then another hit. Well, I guess this isn't a hit. Well, no, Hickman. Jonathan Majors being fired, which I saw people saying it's not official. It definitely is. He's definitely fired. There's no doubt about it. Marvel has confirmed it. Kevin Feige hasn't personally said it. Marvel hasn't put out a press release saying it, but all the trades have been informed that it is official. So, for those of you who don't know, Jonathan Majors was fired from the role and is now, because he was found guilty of, you know, some degree of assault and battery, and I believe harassment was also on that list. He's been fired. The question has been, what will they do? Will they replace Majors or will they move away from Kang altogether? Rumors circulating suggest a replacement. Now, this is not confirmed by any means, so do not take this as gospel just because I am saying it. But the rumor mill is suggesting that his name is Coleman Domingo.
Yeah, also on Euphoria, I believe. You got
on Euphoria.
Won a Golden Globe for that or something like that, or an Emmy.
Won an Emmy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
In The Color Purple.
Yes.
Also in the Fear the Walking Dead.
Oh, that's a great show, by the way. That was a really good spinoff.
Was it?
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
I mean, Majors is out. He's gone. Like that's for sure. Especially after you get cooked by Cat Williams as bad as he did. Like, you can't come back from that. So replacing him with somebody who is unproblematic and a good actor, sure. I'm not familiar with this guy's work, so
bring back Killmonger, man. Make him one of the variants, and he just tears up.
It'll be in Secret Wars. We'll see him as a cameo, I bet.
You want Killmonger to be revealed as a variant of Kang?
That'd be sick, dude.
Yo, you got pea brain, dude.
Wait, what?
That's a wild idea.
Think about it, but think about it.
Open your third eye.
The problem is that I had to think about it for 1 second because you said it and it fucked me up.
I think it's kind of rude that Marco needs to lump in and make all the same black actors the same character.
I agree.
I just like the guy, man. That's it. That's all it is. I like I like what he did.
So, Marco, who do you want to play Bishop?
Bishop?
Yeah.
Coleman Domingo.
Oh. Okay.
All right.
You want to see it?
And Marco, who should play Storm?
Oh, what's this guy's name? Coleman Domingo?
I thought you were going to say
Filipino?
Halle Berry.
Wait, what?
Isn't Bishop Filipino, like, canonically?
Oh, I don't know.
Bishop's lineage is just one of those things.
Yeah, it's a whole episode.
Yeah.
Oh, no, Zendaya's already doing the thing.
Jeffrey Wright as Kang suggests our newest channel member, VI Pal Harris.
He's the watcher.
I don't know. I don't see that.
That'd be an interesting bit because he is the Watcher in What If. So that'd be an interesting swerve if the Watcher is a variant of Kang. Ooh.
I mean, he certainly could have played Immortus,
Sure.
but Kang has to be somebody that can do physical things, I think. Let's have Garfield substitute for Tigra. That's a Marco casting idea.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
You ever see those Garfield comics that don't have Garfield in them, and it's just John talking to himself? It's like the comic strips, and they just Photoshop Garfield out. It's depressing as hell.
Oh, I thought you meant like for real, for real. No, but that'd be kind of cool.
Yes, Jonathan Majors is doing an interview with Good Morning America.
Dude.
I will be there. I am very excited to watch it.
Wait, what?
Did you see the trailer?
Yeah. No, I didn't watch the
trailer.
Dude, there's a trailer for Monday. It came out yesterday. It is the most overly dramatic thing ever. Like the Gypsy Rose trailer wasn't even as dramatic as this one was. He's like starts crying and he's wiping away his tears all dramatically, and then he breaks up a high school fight in the background.
No,
that's the issue I have with this guy. Well, on top
He's
of the
corny.
fact that, right, like everything that he has done, dude. Oh my god, I was watching the news. Oh fuck. Okay, I was watching the news, right? TMZ, in fact. And
Wait. Hold on. You can't say I was watching the news and then say it was TMZ.
TMZ is news. Didn't you hear? And on it, they were showing coverage of the Jonathan Majors trial. Jonathan Majors pulled up to the courtroom with a Bible and Megan Good in tow. Now, a lot of you might not know who Megan Good is. Let me tell you who Megan Good is. Megan Good is like Christ in the black community as a woman. There are some women in the black community who are exalted, okay? Megan Good is one of them. Angela Bassett is another. They are exalted. So what I'm saying is that Jonathan Majors got with Megan Good for the sole purpose of taking her to court because he knows that if Black America sees Megan Good, they're going to say, oh, he can't be guilty. He got Megan Good.
And a Bible.
Meanwhile, we all know that the person he's accused of assaulting is a white woman, which Black America doesn't like as much.
Oh, trust me. I've seen the Dr. Umar videos on it.
Yeah, so I think everything that man does is strategic. For what it's worth, do I think he abused this woman? I don't know. I wasn't there. The evidence didn't feel that strong based on the court case itself. But do I believe that he has abused women in his life? Yes, I do.
Those text messages alone were like, oh, that's classic. Yeah.
Yeah. Do I believe that he abused her at some point? Yes, I do. That is my stance. But this wasn't meant to be a whole rant on Majors himself. I am happy that this rumor exists. I hope it's true because whether it's Coleman Domingo or someone else, Kang should not be erased for the sins of Jonathan Majors. I think that is a BS choice for Marvel to make, and I really hope they don't make it.
I hope Ant-Man makes a quick joke about it. Oh, you look different. You know, just acknowledge it briefly and have a comedy character do it.
Oh, comedy character, comedy actor, Kevin Hart. It's right there.
Oh, no.
Sean, think about it. I know you can see me. I know you can't hear me, but you can see. Think about it. Just think about it.
I can't say what I'm thinking about right now.
We need a good laugh.
Oh my God. I can't.
Let's get Ricky Smiley as Kang.
I felt that, dude.
Atomic Hound says, interesting that Major's interview was on ABC, owned by Disney, which fired him. Yeah, I think it's the biggest interview right now that you could get and from an entertainment person. And I think that, they're the highest bidders. I don't think that there is a correlation there. I think it's just happenstance because Disney owns everything. Oh boy.
Yeah, wow. Sean Cat Williams said Megan Good cut Majors' time in half.
Oh, I don't think that they will still be together in 6 months. What once Majors is sentenced, and I don't know. I don't think he's gonna do time for this.
No.
But whenever that's all like done, I don't see them being together anymore. It's a ploy. Roboters 100 says, in what world does both Majors and Ezra share a jail cell and not guest spots on Good Morning America?
Not in the current world. Not when you have money.
Yeah, Ezra's roaming free.
Ezra Miller's the biggest terrorist on earth, and this individual was going globally terrorizing people, and Ezra Miller got a a big budget tentpole DC movie out and scot free from any prison time. So whenever someone talks about the differences between the way that white people and black people are treated in the justice system, let's think about that. I know there are differences in what Ezra's film was already done and everything else, but let's be real.
Yeah, the Scourge of Karaoke is still doing karaoke in Cape May. So,
all right, let's get out of this. Let's leave the realm of film. Marvel just can't stop taking L's. Hopefully that changes. The Justice League has been absent from DC's comic books. Amin Perez says, I could think about bigger terrorists. I was,
Hyperbolic.
having a little fun. I know there are bigger terrorists. I don't know any of the names right now, but I'm sure there are.
Sean, do you condemn? No, okay, never mind. I'm not gonna.
So the Justice League has been absent from DC's comic book line for some time. We lost them in Justice League number 75, which was so sad because we never knew if we would get them back. That was in 2022. All the characters are back. They were back that same year. But there's no Justice League. So what's the plan? What is DC going to do about the league? Are they bringing them back? Of course, we've been saying since day one they will bring them back. There's no doubt about that. But when? When will we get the league? So Rich Johnson over at Bleeding Cool suggests that initially one of the plans to tide over not having a Justice League was to bring back the Justice Society of America, which of course has been teased out from what Jeff Johns has been doing with his whole Golden Age line of books. But because Jeff Johns went to Ghost Machine and formed that whole thing and is exclusive now, that changed. So what Johnson is suggesting is that instead of bringing back the Justice League to go toe-to-toe with Amanda Waller, they're going to bring the Justice Gang.
Gang?
That's gonna be their first enemy is Tentacle Gang. Yeah.
Imagine that. So the Justice Gang is reminiscent of the Injustice Gang, which is a villain group. We don't know what this could be. Who the hell knows? I would imagine, though, if they're calling it Justice Gang, that it's probably a group of characters that would not traditionally be on the Justice League. Maybe characters who are more roguish. And by rogue, I don't mean bad. I mean like, middle of the road characters with a bit more of an edge to them type thing.
Like a Captain Cold?
I think the Bleeding Cool mentions Guy Gardner as a possibility.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. A little unhinged. Ooh.
First question, how do you guys feel about the idea on its face of the Justice Gang being the play?
I mean, I like the idea of a street level Justice League.
I know that.
I don't know when I've read that. I know if it's existed. I mean, like Justice League Detroit is something similar, but I never read it. At least since I've been reading comics as it's been coming out, monthly. I can't think of one, and I'd be excited to see this. That sounds like something right down my alley.
Yo, that's where they're gonna meet you, bro. Careful.
That's true. Yeah. And I hope it's full of like C and B list characters too.
I think that's a good venture for what would be like maybe not top tier Justice Society or Justice League people. It's like maybe they're on the come up. I was thinking like a young team. I know we have a Titans, but maybe this is uh, like a set of just young individuals who are going to be stopping crime and shit, and they're a little unruly, and they're not tamed, and they're fucking shit up in the process, trying to save people. They're making mistakes.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I understand that the Titans are supposed to be the premier team, and so introducing a league, Justice League, is obviously going to supersede that. And then the Titans get relegated to being, whatever they've been before.
Stopping forest fires.
To me, they are already only what they've been before. And I think that this experiment has been a bust. And I think it's time to go back to the league. Now, granted, we've only had a few issues of Titans. It's not like it's been some long run. But I think that the absence of the Justice League can be felt. And I also think that it doesn't make any sense that all the characters are still on the board. They're just not teaming up. They're not going to the clubhouse anymore. It's ridiculous. If there is a Justice Gang before there is a Justice League, after what is happening in Beast World and what the rumors are, which I don't want to say about what's going to happen, then DC's out of their minds.
What do you think the initiation is like for the Justice Gang? How do you get clapped in?
You get beat into it.
Word.
You got to go toe to toe with Lobo.
Guy Gardner asks you, oh, no.
Damn, wait, that's cool. Lobo being like the head?
Well, you had to die. You had to fight Apocalypse and lose to get into the freaking, to be resurrected on Krakoa.
Don't remind me. That was so cool. The Crucible?
Trial by fire.
Oh, that was so cool, man. Damn, I missed that era, dude. Damn.
That was like 3 years ago.
So Comic Boom says the Guy Gardner League will not be taken seriously. And I think that is a good narrative thing. And interests me. Because Guy Gardner is a scrappy piece of shit. And him trying to lead something. And this reeks more like JLI to me than a Justice League. Yeah.
I can see that.
If they would have done this right after Dark Crisis or somewhere abouts, I'm down. Yeah. But I think it's too late.
That makes narrative sense, right? It's like we got to scrounge up a team. We got to figure it out. There has to be this has to mean something. We'll get the roughest, toughest group of whoever's and fuck shit up.
It's just so frustrating because like what's gonna happen in Beast World is insane, and it necessitates a league, and they still won't get together.
I don't even know what the rumor is. So
yeah, I don't want to say it on here, but if you want to look it up, I don't know. DC's got to bring the Justice League back. I can't be swayed otherwise at this point because this has been such a bust. And we just talked about how it feels like, they're sort of spinning their wheels and, we don't really know where it's going. And I feel like the Justice League being the book that's telling us where it's going makes a lot of sense. But quite frankly, Amanda Waller's not a Justice League level threat.
She's a Justice Gang level threat.
I agree, actually, yeah. Like, Justice Gang sounds like somebody who had trouble with the Suicide Squad,
Yeah, exactly. Damn, wait, all right, I like this. Lobo, Guy Gardner, Roboters through... no, but see, Animal Man doesn't feel, like, gritty enough, I guess. He's a nice guy, I feel like.
Did you read the Jeff Lemire run? That shit was gritty as hell.
It was dark, but...
I don't think Animal Man fits this.
He was in JLI at one point.
This isn't JLI. This is just...
I know, but this is the vibe. Speaking of vibe.
Ooh, vibe.
Yeah.
I'm cool with vibe. That's 3.
Killer Frost.
Oh.
That's a good one, yeah.
You think Static could lead this?
No, they don't care about Static.
Damn, they don't.
Unfortunately. I think it'd be a good choice.
I'm cool with that. Wait, let's... How many
this is a draft that you're blowing your load on too soon, Marco.
I'm so sorry.
There's not going to be a draft, so go ahead. This is fun.
Roboter said ambush bug. That's a wild throw, and I see that. He's out of pocket.
Put Connor Kent on here. Give him something to do.
Okay,
Oh,
that
yeah.
sort of adds up. I guess Red Hood is sidelined right now because of what
Yeah,
Batman
he's wrestling in
scrambling
New
him.
Japan currently.
Yeah.
Ooh, Amin says Midnighter and Apollo.
Uh,
I guess he's some
I
Wild
think
Sword vibes.
they're too strong for that, for what I think this team is.
What do they even do in current comics?
Nothing.
They were a part of Superman's authority.
Oh, that's
Well,
right.
yeah,
Cole says
years
Plastic
ago.
Man. That's pretty good. I
That
can
could be
see
fun.
that.
Black
Yeah.
Adam would definitely fit.
As a
He might
street
be a little
level?
too overpowered though.
There have to be people that are powerful.
Heavy hitters.
You gotta like, if this is a spin off of Beast World, then
True, he's in it.
it
Yeah.
wouldn't make any sense that the team would be small potatoes.
Sure.
They're going after Amanda Waller.
Dan, I like Wildcat. I love Wildcat, but I think he get clowned out.
Oh damn!
Oh,
Wildcat.
Roboter saying Ghostmaker. That's one of my favorite new DC characters. I love Ghostmaker. That'll fit the Batman role pretty well.
Yeah.
Oh, what book was that? That was
It was Tinian's run.
Oh,
He was Batman's friend. They trained together. White suit.
I'm thinking of the Young Animal book.
You're thinking of Mother Panic.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking of. Okay. Which?
How about Black Adam's brother-in-law Osiris?
Yeah.
I mean, how obscure are we gonna get? You know, I don't want to get like brother-in-laws, cousins. Like it just gets too crazy at DC Comics.
Family, just because family.
Yeah.
Los hermanos, bro. Damn.
Yeah, I have Martian Manhunter's mother-in-law on the phone.
Yeah.
Genuinely though, like Superman's like you want to talk about a Justice Gang? Superman's family. You
That's
don't
true.
need all this extra shit. You don't even need a Justice League. You need Superman family.
They do jump people, don't they? Like
Hell yeah.
it's never one-on-one with those guys anymore.
No.
The House of Taken L's.
Batman Incorporated, yes, was where Ghostmaker was last at.
Yes,
the
yes,
comic
yes.
count. Yeah, I remember that. Well, be on the lookout for the Justice Gang. This may not happen. This is only rumor and innuendo coming from Rich Johnson, who of course has many, many connections. But, you know, people have been wrong before. I tend to believe what Rich says. And so I do buy this. I think DC is hesitant to bring the league back. And I think that's foolish. I think they really, really should. But we'll see.
Need it.
The last news item today takes us full circle because it brings us right back to Gail Simone. Now, for those of you who don't follow Gail Simone on Twitter X, you're making a mistake because Gail's a great follow. And but in between, you know, making jokes that upset people, you know, and feigning ignorance about things, every now and then Gail will drop a gem, a story that is highly interesting, that tells us something that we didn't know about one of her many, many cool experiences working in comics. This week, she shared one such story. So she talked about how she had an opportunity at some point to choose from a list of, there's no number associated, but a ton of things, a ton of properties that are actually owned by Warner Brothers. So this is what she said, quote, "One time at San Diego Comic-Con, Dan Didio invited me to lunch at a beautiful seafood restaurant on the bay. He had been given a list of properties that WB owned, many of which DC would have had the ability to adapt to comics. It was stunning. I had no idea. I don't think Dan knew either. He said that this list could do something for DC that hadn't been the case in a long time. It could open up a ton of genres with already popular IP. Many were very dormant concepts, but many still had active franchises, and some were huge, and we could use them." Pause. One of the primary complaints that a lot of people have made, especially older audiences, and Dan Didio himself has made about DC and comics in general, has been the dissipation, the disappearance of genre books. We used to have war comics, we used to have kung fu comics. They were all over the map, and DC's publishing line was full of both, and horror, and mystery, and romance. And all that's been pretty much gone in favor of superhero comics. So this was an opportunity to change that and bring into the fold some new franchises. And Marco, I'm going to talk as long as possible to get you to unfreeze, and I can do it. So we saw the fruits of some of this labor. We saw the result of some of the things that were on this list. Remember the Hanna-Barbera stuff that we got? That is the result of this list. We got Snagglepuss, we got Scooby-Doo, we got Flintstones, there was some Space Ghost stuff.
You got Mad Max Wacky Racers.
There was that. Yeah. There was a fucking Django Unchained comic book version.
With the Frank Quitely cover, from what I remember?
Yeah.
Or it might have been Chris Burnham.
Whoever it was. Yeah. Not something that I'm looking for at all, but it's something that happened. And so this was the one that Gail Simone wanted to do. So she goes on. So there were a lot of things people know, like Mortal Kombat and the various Bugs Bunny type things. But the list just went on and on. Things like Three Stooges and a ton of toy lines and action movie franchises. It was an incredible list. Marco, I see that you have unpaused.
Gail Simone went on.
Oh, I see. Well, I was reading her quote from before and you paused. Anyway, so she went on to say, and I chose Mortal Kombat. The idea would be to bring the characters and mythology to the DCU, like the Charlton characters had many years previously. My thinking was, first, MK has a massive fan base and they're dead serious about the characters. But also, I thought it would do great things for both franchises. There had already been interaction in the Mortal Kombat and Injustice games, but Mortal Kombat's lore is a bit confusing and they don't have a clear timeline, or didn't at the time. A regular comic could cement the lore. But also, they would bring two types of characters to the book that DC always felt a little bit behind Marvel on: martial artists and gods. DC's martial arts lore seemed less fully realized than Marvel's to me. There are exceptions, but it was just a spot that could be bigger. So she's establishing that bringing Mortal Kombat into DC proper, which was the concept here, would allow them to shore up their martial arts game and give us martial arts comic books and give us gods. Because outside of the new gods, which are like, gods-ish, DC doesn't really have like gods that much.
Huh. I mean, could DC have Raiden in the books? A lightning-based character that isn't black?
Well, she used him actually as an example of what they could do. So she talked about how Marvel's got, great gods and the stuff that they've done. But she says, and finally, the idea of an annual fighting tournament for the various realms could be a massive boost to DCU's coolness factor. Black Canary fighting Sonya Blade, Superman versus Raiden, Plastic Man versus Scorpion. The matches would have been huge.
Wait, what was the last one? Plastic Man versus Scorpion?
Yeah, that's so random.
He just does get over here and it just stretches him out instead.
Yeah, that's so good.
I felt it would have been a real addition to the DCU and also a chance for Mortal Kombat to tell big lore stories. We were going to have 3 ongoing books. I've talked about this before. The sad end is I worked on it for a year and it fell through for simple corporate stuff. But it still kills me to think about that list. If it had worked, if DC had even a few hit books featuring WB properties, it could have added entirely new readerships, people who love monsters or action movies, or all the other genres they had access to potentially.
I loved the He-Man stuff. And I'll tell you this. The only reason I picked that up was because Swamp Thing appeared in that crossover. And then from that point on, I picked up maybe 3 He-Man related titles. Like, it was an entryway in, because at that point, I'm forgetting who the writer was, but it was just good storytelling, good adventures. And I'm like, damn, I remember the cartoons. Like, and I was never super involved with them or super just like, I have to tune in, but I'd catch one or 2 episodes when it was on, and to see them come to life in this way, I thought it was a great just utilization of those characters. And you guys mentioned earlier the Hanna-Barbera stuff. Well, I guess that's technically still Hanna-Barbera, but you mentioned like the more classic cartoon characters. It just makes sense. Scooby-Doo, the Apocalypse story, loved it. Like all of that stuff was just great storytelling. And I think Gail Simone's right. If you want to introduce these characters, the familiarity is easy to get into, and you have people who can execute well. Easy money. It's a shame.
I'm very sad that we didn't end up getting this. This is something that she's talked about a little bit before. I knew the Mortal Kombat piece of this, but it's sad because Mortal Kombat actually is really, really cool. I don't know if either of you have familiarity, or chat if you guys do, but I'm a big fan. And what it hasn't really had is great storytelling. It suffers from the fact that it's a video game. Fighting game stories are hard to tell because there's no telling what character you chose to play as and all that kind of stuff. You have to service all these characters, and Mortal Kombat has so many. The storytelling got better over the years because they decided to go with a story mode that makes you play as various characters, and so the story is like about them all. But it just hasn't been amazing. I think Gail Simone, someone who clearly has some passion for Mortal Kombat, deciding to take that lore and comic book it, really sit down, create a Bible, create a timeline, which they recently did with the most recent game, Mortal Kombat 1, and figure out a way to integrate that into DC, and not in a way where it's like, Sub-Zero and Superman are constantly at odds or teaming up, Batman versus Scorpion, not like that. But, what she laid out, an annual tournament where you can do these kinds of matchups and fun interactions. Maybe Shang Tsung becomes one of the big bads at DC for an event.
Damn.
Or Shao Kahn or somebody like that. The DC heroes have to go to Outworld to stop Shao Kahn.
Mixing League of Shadows with that too.
Oh my God, dude.
Batman would have fun with those characters. Like Batman, most malleable character in comics. That could be cool, yeah. I'm not even a big Mortal Kombat dude. All that new movie was pretty good.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
I like the first movie. I'll watch the first movie any day.
Honestly, yeah. The remember when that Damien arc started and he had the tournament?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect, dude. That would have been that. He could have just been transported there. He's building up his character through that universe, like perfect.
Yeah, I think the possibilities are endless, and I think we saw how DC's creative teams could work with outside IP during the Hanna-Barbera phase. I didn't read everything. All the things I read were great. The Elmer Fudd special with the Tom King Batman Elmer Fudd thing. You guys don't remember that?
Yeah, that's when they did a couple of crossovers like that. They did like a Jabberjaw Aquaman one too.
Yep.
Yeah.
That one won an Eisner. The Elmer Fudd one, I think.
It might have actually best single issue, possibly.
I think so, yeah.
Flintstones was obviously phenomenal.
Yep. Check out the book club.
We could have gotten so much more. It's a shame how little of what could have been we actually got.
My biggest gripe was, again, in that Scooby-Doo world. I love Scooby-Doo, and to get more like adult-oriented murder mystery story, that's in genre. That's in genre, and you're getting a different version. You have the classic kitty Scooby-Doo with your Batman crossovers. That's from the cartoons. That's OG 60s, man. And to see them grow up affected me a lot, because it's like, wow, this is a different take. It's a little grittier. It's fun, and it was something I've fantasized, because it almost feels like fanfic. You give me like a legit murder that they have to solve. It's
fun.
Yeah.
Now, all of this is incredibly interesting, and it serves as well. Actually, before we do that, WB properties. Gail Simone says she cannot remember what was on the list. Are there any WB properties that you wish they would have done something with?
There's tons, but I feel like I might be using them soon.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised because of all the moving parts of this, but like a Harry Potter comic.
Oh,
That
yeah.
would that's probably the biggest IP you could possibly do that doesn't have a Pokemon, I guess, that doesn't have a comic. And DC could have theoretically maybe done that.
Preferably in the era of Hogwarts when they just shat on the floor and they apparated it away.
What?
That's canon. JK made that canon before Hogwarts had plumbing.
Yo, they own. Ooh, I'm not gonna say anything.
Right?
All right. So what we're dancing around is we hit the likes goal, we smashed it, we got to where I actually wanted to get. So I'm really happy about that. And I might have to start challenging you guys a little bit more. We cleared it. So what that means is, of course, we get to play a game. The game is Be the Editor. So what we are going to do is we are going to assemble individually a dream creative team to make a comic book based on a non-comics IP. Now, A, this is not a draft. B, there are no limitations on what you choose other than it has to be something that originated outside of comics. You can only choose creators from comics. You cannot say Zack Snyder, for example. And the winner, what wins, is chosen by the audience. Bonus points if you can come up with the storyline.
What if I can do more than one book?
Word.
Nah, we're doing one book.
Damn. I gotta make a choice now.
Yo, Tyler. This is our realm, bro.
So Deus Ex Macchiato, thanks again for the super chat. Scott Steiner's Court of Falcons with Blue Falcon when, according to his Twitter, possibly this year.
Right.
Yeah.
Snyder's open for business now.
Yep. Superhero business.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I got mine.
Yeah,
Shoot,
I got mine.
go ahead.
I got mine.
All right. So mine is going to be written by Warren Ellis. Don't cancel me. Written by Warren Ellis. Drawn by Sean Murphy. Don't cancel me. And it is a Mad Max comic book. Sean Murphy drawing Mad Max vehicles. Fun to say. There's nobody better in comics who can draw cars. What it would be about. What is Mad Max really about? They're trying to get to a destination, and madness ensues. That's really all it is. And I feel like Warren Ellis could have a more of a high sci-fi spin on it, maybe a high concept wackiness to it. That could be a lot of fun.
I like it.
I got Popeye by Mark Russell, Stephen Pugh, and the idea there is going to be Olive Oil is leaving Popeye for Bluto, so he has to reconcile with the fact that he's not stealing her, she's leaving of his volition, and he has to lament all of this to Wimpy. Are you guys familiar with Wimpy?
Oh yeah.
The burger guy. He's one of my favorite characters.
I'll give you $1 tomorrow for hamburger today. Something like that.
Yes, dude. Yep, exactly. And
So is this Popeye the Incel book? Popeye the Incel man.
This is Popeye moving on and then going to Sweet Pea.
Oh my god. Marco, why does your pitch sound like your life?
All I'm saying is that it'd be an interesting character examination by Mark Russell.
Marco's just gonna be like, whoa, just constantly.
I feel like I've heard him do that before.
Multiple times.
That's his own noise.
Okay, so we got Popeye from Marco. This is hard because I also have a lot that I would like to do. I think I'm going to go with a character that, oh man, This is a dream. Like, I wish I could name myself as the writer because this is my dream project. So the character is Mega Man. I think Mega Man is brilliant. I love that character so much. And I want a story that is going to serve as not only an introduction to the character, but a back to basics approach that is just a great Mega Man story that gives you the trappings of what you would expect from the character in a narrative form that makes sense, right? So the creative team that I choose is Jeff Johns as the writer, because Jeff Johns has proven that he can tell family stories. And in my mind, this Mega Man story is going to be focused on Mega Man, Dr. Light, Roll, who is Mega Man's sister, and Proto Man, who is Mega Man's brother.
Ooh.
So it would be a family focused story. And then, of course, we've seen what Jeff Johns did with Junkyard Joe. So I love that. But from an art standpoint, I would go in a different direction. And I would get Nicholas Draper Ivy.
Oh, sick.
Because
Whoa.
Nicholas Draper Ivy, to me, his art style is the perfect fusion of Western comics and manga. And Mega Man is a Japanese character that I want to cross over into American comics. So arguably the best writer in American comics, the future fusion artist that brings it all together, and Mega Man. That's my pitch.
Interesting pitch. Interesting.
So it's up to you guys, audience. We've got Popeye.
I'm not doing the impression again. Sorry.
Mark Russell and Steve Pugh. That's Marco's suggestion. Tyler, what was yours again?
Mine was Mad Max by Warren Ellis and Sean Gordon Murphy.
Yo, Warren Ellis, though. Yeah. Yeah, I see it.
It could do like a small ensemble character based thing, yeah.
And then I went with Mega Man by Jeff Johns and Nicholas Draper. How long do you guys see the series going?
5 issues.
12 issues.
12. I'll go with 12.
No, dude, yours could be an ongoing. Like, that's a nice, like, slice of life book. Isn't I'm not as familiar with the lore, but isn't what's his face? Oh my god, I just blanked. Red. Proto Man. Isn't Proto Man his rival?
No. Sort of. Like, he's presented as a mysterious agent, and then over time you learn that's his brother, and you know, all that kind of jazz. But they're not literally brothers. Like, they're robots. But
sure, right.
You know, it's
where does Cutman go in all this? Woodman?
Dude,
Woodman would if a woodman could.
Cutman's the first villain. You gotta go Cutman.
Gotta be.
Guts
Can I name my other ideas that I didn't? Is not up for vote.
No,
not up for vote.
Come on,
nope.
One more.
This isn't the last time we're gonna do this. There's no need for us to do that.
Okay, let me add it to a sticky note. Hold on.
Blow a load on that, dude.
Whoa.
Sorry. We got some good ones. A Barbie comic from Amin. A Barbie comic by Garth Ennis and Clayton Crane.
What the hell?
Barbie goes to war.
War Barbie. Oh my god. That's crazy. Remember that time we interviewed Garth Ennis, Marco?
Yeah, I love that.
That was insane. I was so intimidated.
The selection of books, and for anybody who wants to go back to that, the selection of books were definitely war stories. So Tom McCown, I think you'd get a kick out of it.
Sure.
The Tankies. I'm forgetting the other one. Something with flying. Red Baron, I want to say. But interesting books. Tankies was definitely a lot pretty solid, and he has a good perspective on comics.
Dude, remember how they told us like no conversation about the outside properties? And
That's
the first
right.
question I asked them was about the bullets.
Yo, and the moment that happened, I felt like us, and then the rest of the guys were just like, oh.
Because I didn't care, dude. I knew that. What creator doesn't want to talk about all their work? You don't want to talk about the most successful television show that's based on your comics? Get the fuck out of here. And of course he was down to talk about it.
Yeah, he didn't care. He didn't care.
Yeah.
Harris.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Harris says Rom V on a spy versus spy book using Jason Bourne versus John Wick across the globe as they're being played by a modern Moriarty type character. But who's the artist, Harris?
Yeah, who's the artist?
Gotta tell me who that artist is. Who's gonna draw that?
Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne.
Amin says Ben 10 Rebirth by Jeff Johns and Gary Frank.
Let's go. Damn, Ben 10.
Yeah.
Man,
Wow.
Gary Frank
Underrated,
drawing forearms.
Love it.
Has Ben 10 not had a comic?
He has.
That's
Probably
Yeah.
has.
crazy.
He has, yeah.
Yeah, probably has.
All
make
my
sure
all
you
my
get your-
ideas were WB properties too.
Get your votes in. We're gonna close the poll very soon. Get your votes in to determine.
Marco,
who won
did you
the
hyphenate
first-
Mega Man?
Don't interrupt me, please. To determine who will win the first edition of Be the Editor.
I thought Mega Man was
first
hyphenated.
edition.
It's not.
Damn.
Ben 10 has my vote. It says Catherine Stars.
It's not an option.
Yeah, you can't vote for that, unfortunately.
Wait, there's Roboters has a long list here. Jeff Johns, Frank Miller, Chris Claremont, plot, script, dialogue. Oh, I see.
Whoa.
Artist Dave Gibbons, Gary Frank. They tackle Dune, and they make it a dirty, gritty, politically charged, and insanely beautiful. Dune, fun fact, has a book currently. I believe it's being published by Boom. And I've peeked in on a few issues. Great art. I'm not as familiar with the story, so I couldn't get into it. But I think House of Altruis, the first few issues were solid.
Wasn't it? It's a tie into the movies, though. Correct? Not a standalone thing.
Some of them are because there's a few. Some of them are standalone. Some were tying in.
Like based on the book.
Based on the book, correct?
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So I've heard good things from. I think I have one friend who has read the book and knew the comic.
Something funny about you saying, I think I have one friend.
Oldie the one. Oy.
Harris said the artist would be Werther Deladera and Chris Sheehan. Haven't heard of Chris.
Yeesh.
Werther. I don't know who
Great.
Werther is.
Werther's great, though. Werther's on Something is Killing the Children.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Cole says I was gonna say a Hogwarts book would be cool. Cole, give us the creative team, man.
Yeah. All right, let's close that poll. Let's close that poll up and get the result.
Closing poll. All right, let's see. With a big old fat 10%, Marco got Popeyes. Marco got 10%. Sean at 40, and Tyler Mad Max.
If it helps Marco, I would have voted for you.
Thank you, appreciate that.
All right, so Mad Max from Tyler wins the vote. Thank you guys for voting.
What was the creative team one more time?
Warren Ellis, Sean Gordon Murphy.
Right, okay.
I was tempted to just say Sean Gordon Murphy doing all of it, but
No, Ennis.
yeah, no, just be cops.
So that concludes our first edition of Be the Editor. Let us know if you enjoyed that. Clearly, I mean, so many of you shared shared what books you would do. And clearly among us, there's a desire to do more of these. So we'll probably do it again.
Sean, can I make a suggestion? And maybe you've already thought of it. Next time we do this, we can't use any of the same creators.
That's
good.
interesting. That's
Give it
interesting.
some stakes
Love a steak.
and make it so Kale gets screwed. So
He'll come in having not listened to it. He's like, oh, Jeff Johns, fuck. Oh, Gary Frank, fuck.
Gary Frank's free.
Oh, that's right. Sean
Yeah.
didn't choose. That's right.
That shows Nicholas Draper Ivy.
Yeah.
Atomic Hound says, I love this segment. That is the word of the hound is the word of the gospel. So thank you. Appreciate it. Glad you enjoyed it. Patreon.com/the comics pals. If you guys want to support, if you enjoy what we did here, if you had fun today, if you've enjoyed listening to us for however long it is that you have been, that's the best way to support us and show your appreciation, for which we return it tenfold. We've got newsletters. We've got an exclusive show you might never have heard. You get to vote in the book club poll, which a new one will be going up very soon. Now that we have announced The Dark Knight Returns as our next book club, which will be recording live, not even recording, we'll be doing it live on January 30th. So come support us for that. Come hang out, show up for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Shout out, of course, to the channel members. If you want to become a channel member, you can do that at youtube.com/thecomicspals under and click the join button. And you get early access to our videos. You get the green name in the chat, the emojis, the whole 9 yards. Watch this show live every Saturday at 10:15 a.m. Eastern. Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern for Pals Pulls. Vote in the listener pick poll, which I'm gonna take a gander at one more time just to see where we are and if things have changed. And they actually haven't. They haven't. It's a dead heat still. So we'll find out the results of that on Wednesday. Let's do the plugs before we cut out. Marco.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Comics Pals. You can find me at Mr. Marco Animoto on all socials. And my most recent Patreon post, again, starting off the year, was about Warren Ellis. So for anybody who's interested in joining, get a little bit of a taste of Warren Ellis. Will Eisner, Jesus, got some Ennis on the brain. But yeah, come talk to us.
Wait, what is it about? Will Eisner or Warren Ellis? What?
No, it was about Will Eisner, but I was thinking about Ellis.
Okay, I was like, what do you write about Warren Ellis? Oh no. You can follow me at the Tyler Olson on Instagram and Twitter and Threads and TikTok, and yeah, that's about it. What's going on lately? I don't know. I've been playing Lethal Company lately. If you want to talk about that or even play it, let me know. Join the Discord.
Thank you guys so much for listening. We appreciate you. We love you. Until next time, take care, guys.